Before today, I thought I knew chocolate. I thought chocolate started life in a wrapper, sitting on a supermarket shelf, waiting for me to come and demolish an entire bar in one sitting. But today, I'm going to make chocolate from scratch, starting with an actual cocoa pod. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll never look at chocolate the same way again. Also, I ate 100% chocolate, and I genuinely questioned every decision I've ever made. So, let's go. Today I'm at Moonbean Chocolate here in Uganda. This isn't actually my first time here. I visited before and absolutely loved it. And the second my boyfriend's mum had a free morning from work, I knew exactly where I wanted to bring her. Because this isn't just a chocolate factory. It's a history lesson, a science lesson, a cooking class, and a workout all disguised as a fun day out. So if you've ever wondered how a tiny bean eventually becomes your favourite chocolate bar, you're about to find out. Our guide started right at the very beginning, the cocoa tree. Now, something I never realised is that chocolate doesn't grow brown. It grows inside these incredible colourful cocoa pods that grow directly out of the trunk and branches of the tree. Some are yellow, some are orange, some deep red depending on the variety and how ripe they are. Inside each pod are around 30 to 50 cocoa beans covered in this thick white pulp. The first thing we got to try was actually the fresh cocoa fruit straight from the pod. You suck the soft white flesh surrounding it before spitting the bean out. The best way I can describe it is, imagine if a lychee and a grape had a baby. It's sweet, slightly tropical, really refreshing, and absolutely nothing like chocolate. Which is crazy when you think that this eventually becomes this. Now here's where nature starts doing all the hard work. Once the beans are removed from the pod, they're piled into wooden boxes like these or wrapped in banana leaves to ferment. This takes around 5 to 7 days, and it's probably the most important stage of the entire process. During fermentation, natural yeasts and bacteria break down the sugary pulp. The beans heat up naturally to around 45 to 50 degrees Celsius, which actually kills the seed inside. More importantly, it begins creating all those incredible chocolate flavours that simply don't exist inside a fresh bean. Without fermentation, chocolate would never taste like chocolate, which honestly blew my mind. After fermentation comes drying. The beans are spread out under the African sun for roughly 7 to 14 days, depending on the weather. Workers constantly rake and turn them throughout the day so they dry evenly. Drying removes excess moisture, prevents mould, and locks in all those flavours created during fermentation. By the time they're finished, they've gone from soft white fruit-covered beans to the brown cocoa beans we recognise today. As soon as I opened a sack of dried beans, the smell hit me. It was warm, nutty, rich, almost like roasted coffee mixed with roasted nuts and dark chocolate. Your senses say chocolate before you've even seen any. The first machine we saw looked rather strange. I'm not joking, there was literally just a normal hoover attached to a wooden box. As the beans were crushed, the lighter papery husks were sucked away through the vacuum, while the heavier cocoa nibs dropped into a separate compartment. It's actually a really clever system because the cocoa husks weigh far less than the nibs. Simple, cheap, and incredibly effective. Only in Uganda would I see a random household hoover promoted to head of chocolate production. Give that thing a raise. The cocoa nibs are then ground down by this machine called a melanger, aka a stone grinder. And this is where the magic really starts to happen. As the heavy granite wheel slowly crushes the nibs, they release their natural cocoa butter. Little by little, the dry, crunchy nibs transform into an incredibly thick, dense cocoa paste. It slowly squeezes its way out of the bottom of the machine and drops into a large metal bowl, ready for us to try. This is 100% chocolate, no sugar, no milk, and no vanilla, just pure cocoa. Naturally, I had to taste it. And let's just say, my taste buds weren't prepared for what happened next. My boyfriend's mum went first and instantly regretted it. It wasn't bitter, it was bitter. The kind of bitter where your face starts folding into shapes you didn't even know were possible. I genuinely think I saw my ancestors. Safe to say, I won't be replacing my Lindt bars anytime soon.
What's worse than I remember?
Luckily, the tasting only got better. We worked our way through different cocoa percentages. When I was younger, I was completely obsessed with white chocolate because it was creamy and ridiculously sweet. Now, the older I've got, the darker the better. 70% is still my absolute favourite. Next, it was our turn to become chocolatiers. First, we had to choose the 10 best cocoa beans. Now, you can't just pick any old bean. You're looking for beans that are nice and plump, evenly shaped, not cracked, not mouldy, without insect damage, and with a rich brown colour. Basically, the chocolate equivalent of Britain's Got Talent auditions. Some make it, some absolutely don't. Time for roasting. The beans were roasted while constantly being stirred. This keeps the heat even and stops them burning. Roasting usually happens somewhere between 120 and 150 degrees Celsius, depending on the chocolate maker, and only takes around 15 to 30 minutes. It develops even more flavour, reduces bitterness, and most importantly, makes the shells much easier to remove. Then came the workout. Using a pestle and mortar, we crushed the roasted nibs completely by hand. Industrial chocolate factories have huge stone grinders that do this over several days. We had arms and determination. It starts off feeling impossible. Little crunchy bits everywhere. Nothing happened. Then suddenly, the natural cocoa butter inside the beans starts releasing, and everything transforms into this thick, glossy paste. I entered full power mode. If anyone walked in, they'd have thought I was auditioning for gladiators. Normally, this paste would continue refining for around 3 days in specialised machines. The longer it's ground, the smoother and silkier the chocolate becomes. That's why the 100% chocolate we tasted earlier felt completely different. Ours just wasn't ready yet, so instead we used it for something even cooler. An ancient chocolate drink. This was one of my favourite parts of the day. Long before chocolate bars ever existed, ancient civilizations like the Maya and later the Aztecs drank cocoa instead. It wasn't sweet, it wasn't creamy, and definitely wasn't a hot chocolate from Costa. It was powerful, earthy, spicy, and was often mixed with chilies, herbs, flowers, or spices. The Aztecs called it chocolato, meaning bitter water, which is actually where the word chocolate comes from. It was considered incredibly valuable. Cocoa beans themselves were even used as a currency. Only nobles, warriors, priests, and honoured guests would regularly drink it. It featured during royal ceremonies, important feasts, religious rituals, and celebrations. So today we created it. Crushed cocoa, chili, ground ginger, honey, and a little hot water, mixed together using a traditional wooden whisk. I took one sip and immediately understood why people described it as liquid fire. Chocolate, then ginger, then wham, the chilies arrived. I felt like I could breathe fire afterwards. I couldn't help but imagine people from hundreds of years ago standing around a fire drinking exactly this. It's amazing how food can connect you to people you've never met. Now, this next bit looked absolutely criminal. Our guide walked over carrying this huge bowl of silky milk chocolate that had been refining for 3 whole days, then poured it directly onto the workshop. We just stared. Turns out he wasn't wasting chocolate. The countertop is made from polished granite. Granite naturally stays cool and holds a very stable temperature. By spreading the chocolate across it, the chocolate cools evenly and begins the tempering process. Tempering aligns the cocoa butter crystals so your chocolate sets properly. That's what gives chocolate its glossy shine and stops it melting in your hands immediately. Watching professionals do this makes it look easy. Trying it yourself, a completely different story. Finally, the part we've all been waiting for, making our own chocolate bars. We each had 12 moulds, so we could experiment with loads of different flavour combinations. There were so many different toppings: coffee, sea salt, coconut, nuts, dried fruit, spices. I just went for plain coffee, salt, and coconut. Pouring chocolate into the moulds sounds easy, but I can assure you it isn't. Chocolate somehow ends up absolutely everywhere, including apparently my face, which serves me right. This was my breakfast, and I'm not even ashamed. You also have to work quickly because tempered chocolate starts setting surprisingly fast. I was trying to make mine look like they belong in a luxury chocolate shop. In reality, let's just say rustic. But who cares? It's all ending up exactly in the same place: my stomach. While our chocolates chilled in the fridge, I wandered around the workshop. It's filled with handmade products created by local Ugandan artists. Chocolates, candles, natural skincare, soaps, bags, jewellery, hair accessories, and clothing. Everything has that feeling of being made with care rather than mass-produced in a factory. Instead of constantly replacing things, throwing them away, buying more, there's something really beautiful about repairing, creating, recycling, and giving ordinary materials another life. Finally, our chocolates were ready, lined up perfectly, each one completely unique. We carefully packed them into the little bags they gave us, although, let's be honest, the journey home was probably the biggest threat to their survival. Some mysteriously disappeared. Today reminded me that chocolate isn't just my favourite snack. It isn't just something we throw into our shopping basket without thinking. Behind every single chocolate bar are cocoa farmers, fermentation, drying under the African sun, roasting, grinding, thousands of years of history, ancient traditions, entire communities, and generations of people perfecting their craft. Every bite tells a story. So thank you so much to Moonbean Chocolate for keeping these traditions alive and allowing us to experience every single step ourselves. Now when I eat it, I'm part of something much bigger than simply being a fatty. Although, let's be honest, that part is still true. Thank you for watching. I love you all, and I'll see you in the next adventure.